So we've reached the halfway point for this volume of RWBY, and with it, a 2-month time period of just nothing, as the series will be on hiatus. Now as far as hiatuses go, this one isn't really that bad, not if you compare it to more mainstream shows. Despite that though, this chapter needs to be one that would keep our satisfaction and hype up while we wait for the show to return. Which may be hard because the gap between this chapter and the next was never supposed to be that long. So does this chapter pull through and do the job? Well, I'm here to give my own opinion on that. But before we start, just want to quickly thank all of you for watching, and if you want to see more of my RWBY thoughts or just my thoughts in general, you can subscribe. And in the comment section, I'd like to know what you guys thought about the chapter. Loved it? Hate it? And if you hate it, I'm genuinely curious why. So we start the chapter off with easily my 2 new favorite scenes in RWBY. Seriously, they did such a good job setting the tone for this episode at the start here. I've gushed about the visual team before, how their skills have just been getting progressively better and better with each volume, and this is just another testament to how much talent is behind the scenes. Just look at the scale, the detail. We can see this soldier shaking, hear him breathing heavily as he's waiting for what's most likely his death. Also, these models just look good. Like, it's hard to explain. There are times where RWBY characters closely resemble sprites, and there are times where they look like full characters, if that makes sense. In this scene though, the soldiers all look like full people, which, you know, satisfies me. And can we talk about this shot? I love this shot. Getting to dive into the battle and feeling the size of those giant Grimm, it's so short, but it's just so good. And like I said, it's not something you see in RWBY very often. Like, the last time we got a moving shot like that, I'm pretty sure, was in Volume 2 with the Runaway Paladin. It was just such a good shot that showed the insanity of the battle, and I just really loved it. Ended up playing it over and over for a while before actually continuing with the chapter. My second new favorite scene is the one where the Atlas citizens are getting told to evacuate. For starters, we finally get a good look at Atlas. We got a little in Cinder's backstory, but that was really just one place, and it was night. Here it's day, and we got a better view of just how this place looks, and yeah, it looks like a paradise. It really does feel like it's a place that can numb your brain if you live there too long. Like, the perfect environment is just shutting off all your senses, making you practically oblivious to the world around you. All we need now is for Julie from Avatar to pop up and say her line. I also like how RWBY didn't go for bringing back old faces in this. They could have shown May's brother or cousin or whatever, or that lady who was talking shit in Jock's party back in Volume 4. Brought them back just to say, hey, remember them? They're a callback. Problem is though, if they did that, we would have probably ended up laughing and telling them to fall down some stairs when we should have been pitying them. Now listen, we as an audience have damn near been conditioned to say fuck you to Atlas. There is very little to like about this place. But when I saw this little girl and this dad, I actually ended up caring about the people here and wanting them to get away. I'm just happy RWBY was actually able to get me to care about these people, because I was more than ready not to. So moving on, we meet back with Yang's team in the ASOPs with Team Yang in cuffs. Yang makes a comment about how they're just following orders, and I immediately thought about how many people weren't going to like that. But I want you to real quick think about the group's journey, the whole group. For a whole arc from Volume 4 to 6, they were pretty much just blindly following orders from Ozpin, and that ended up with them nearly getting killed. So when you think about it, they're taking what they've learned from past mistakes and events and using it to better themselves. If that isn't the definition of character development, I don't know what is. I believe they see themselves in the ASOPs, and it's both aggravating for someone like Yang and sad for someone like RWBY, for example. Do I wish they clearly said that or hinted at it in the show? Of course. It'd be good writing, and calm a lot of people down. So Ironwood informs the ASOPs that his science team is coming up with a bomb, that they will have to bring inside the whale in order to destroy it. Possibly a suicide mission. Now I like and hate this. I like how we are given a time limit. Oscar's inside that whale and we obviously don't want him to die. This is creating stakes and tension. I hate though how Ironwood just informs them of this and doesn't seem to care. There doesn't seem to be any sadness in his voice that his closest subordinates might die on this mission. He doesn't say I'm sorry or anything, and I'm like, guy, come on now. Again, I've said this before, I want Grey Ironwood back. I mean, I get he's losing his humanity to fear and everything, but at the same time, I don't want him to just completely lose it, because then he's just basically another Salem, another villain. I would rather have him be in the middle and make those decisions and still show signs of a sliver of humanity. That way we can still see that conflict inside him. Hazel's scene is also very good. I like getting more information on how Hazel ended up under Salem, and getting more information on his wish also helps me care more about him. But the big thing holding his character back is the motivation. At the end of the day, he's mad at the world for a decision his sister made, and it doesn't really make any sense. Maybe if we learn more about her death and find out that Ozpin maybe lied to her somehow, and that's what led to her dying, maybe then we can sympathize and understand him more. But at the moment, it still doesn't really fit. Like I said though, the scene is still good. I like the detail on Hazel's face, showing how old and angry he is, and that spit. I love when a character or actor gets so into a conversation he ends up spitting everywhere. It really ups the emotion in the room and gets me more invested. We later cut to RWBY's team where May shows off her new semblance, teleportation. We get an on-screen confirmation that May is trans, so all the people complaining who didn't really care but just wanted another reason to complain can relax. Also, May's explanation as to why she left Atlas is an example of really good dialogue writing, in my opinion. She tells us that she left because her views of Mantle didn't really fit with everyone else's. That's why she said she left. But the explanation also carries subtext relating to real world issues, allowing audience to interpret what she says in two different ways. And I just think that's really clever writing. We go back with Team Yang, and I gotta put the spotlight on my boy John. I've said it before, he has grown so much, and he's become a real good leader. Honestly, I should probably call this team Team John. No offense to Yang, but John's really coming through. He comes with the idea saying his team can stake the whale out for the Aesops, so they can come in and easily plant the bomb. And if they happen to find Oscar along the way, why not pick him up? It's that quick thinking and calm nature John's developed that's making him a really good character and a useful leader. Another thing John did was help Ren get out of his rut. You know, that talk they had in chapter 4. And I thought that was good, made sense, but I did wish that Ren had made it more clear that it was John's talk that set him straight. So it could feel less like he just woke up and went, I changed my mind. I think this way now. Of course, not anything big, but a quick, Oscar's our friend, so we'll be there for him. Something like that, calling back to when John talked about how people were there for him when he was all depressed and stuff, and even back during Beacon. I think it just helped the scene feel more natural. We then get Ren's semblance evolution, and I have to use all 2 of my brain cells not to call it a quirk evolution because the ideas are very similar. It is interesting though how depending on the quirk or the person, it might take some training to evolve one semblance, or it might have something to do more with mental and spiritual growth. I like how everyone's different. I also like the new power Ren has. The petals from the opening and how each emotion has a different color depending on the emotions. It reminds me of this Thai show The Gifted, where one of the characters was able to read off other people's emotions and get similar results with lights that came out of nowhere. This power also helped her figure out who was lying, so Ren and Robin Detective Agency? I'll leave that in the maybe pile. I do have to ask though, can we please stop bringing back chapter 11 of volume 7? This is like the 3rd time they tried to justify what happened in that chapter, and listen, it's not gonna work. I'm never going to agree with these scenes because they just don't make sense. They're good eye candy, sure, but they just don't make sense. Bringing them back up and trying to defend them over and over is only making it worse, and I'm trying to keep this show in a positive light, but I can't do that if you continue to wave your mistakes in my face. The chapter made no sense writing wise, let's just accept it, move on. Finally, we end this chapter back with Team RWBY, who are trying to figure out what to do next. I like how May smacks them with the cruel reality that this is a situation that not everyone is going to win, and I hope that they deliver on that. It's not that I want bad things to happen to these characters, but in order to keep that weight the villains have, and in order to teach these kids, there's gonna have to be some tragedy. And it'll be seeing these characters rise up after being pushed down that'll get us even more connected with them. Speaking of more connected, yay, we're nice to Whitley now! I'm so happy that Whitley's no longer on the shit end of the stick, and I'm also happy to see Klein back with all his eye colors. But we don't have much time to celebrate because Penny's here. She's probably gonna get hacked and fight Team RWBY, and the story shouldn't even matter. Great. So yeah, that was chapter 7 of volume 8, and I thought it was a solid chapter. The ending didn't leave me on this hype high that will last me 2 months. In fact, it sort of ended softly, but they weren't even planning on having a hiatus that long, and the episode overall was a really fun watch. A lot of doors opened up, and I'm excited to see where they lead. On top of that, that beginning is still one of the best things RWBY has ever done, and I'll be rewatching it for a long time. I know this break is unorthodox, but I also understand that this year's been unorthodox. So if they need this time to make the second half as good as the first, then by all means, take as long as you want. Honestly, I secretly hope they stick to this long break in future volumes. It gives me more time to make relevant RWBY videos.